Hello, guys. Flat 2D Dimensional Studios Productions here, with another advice message video. For anyone curious what this background is and what GLA stands for, this guys was a movie the creator now Kiwi planned named The Great Lake Avengers. When I was doing an attempt to make a theme of my own to dedicate the creator Nathan Barr, this was one of the props from the SSBO project file I used, but the theme was a complete failure. I have all the SSBO's props and backgrounds I had when making this theme, but now, I am going to talk about making videos where the troublemaker from a Grounded series gets disowned. Ugh. Man. You don't even know how that completely tears down the character and why it's just horrible for them to kick out the child just because they misbehaved. So, you want to say, why it is wrong to put a part where the parents disown their child. I'm going to explain why that is really bad and makes it a wrongdoing not only to the parents, but to yourself as well, because a lot of people would find that sick and messed up for the parents to kick them out of the house. Because where else can they stay? And what if the person had no friends? Nobody likes to see a video where the child is being kicked out of the family just because they've been misbehaving nonstop. Look at it this way. That is not what you do if the person is being bad so many times. You get them help. That's what therapy is for. They fix up people with problems. Kicking them out and putting them on the streets is not okay, and it's another act of child abuse. The child always loved their parents, even if they were bad. Remember about 2 years ago, Carla, Una, Brianna and Tiana got disowned for an unfair ridiculous reason? The parents in those families probably treated them like crap, and never cared for them much. All they were doing was just living out their lives. I am aware they have done some bad actions, but it wasn't that horrible for that point, to them deciding, you are no longer in this family, we are tired of you being bad, and never showed mercy or remorse from us, so, how about you run away, then never return? Do you even realize how badly plotted that would be for the end of a Grounded series? The person is homeless, doesn't have a family, no food, not anybody looking after them, and if the child was like 6, 8 or 9, that's even way worse. That's a bigger problem because there's no way they can survive out there by themselves, without someone looking after them. Minors are never allowed to be out by themselves at night. Tata strict law. How are they gonna take care of themselves? You have to think about that one. Carla, Brianna and Tiana were adults at that time, Una was not, so that's bad. Those girls barely knew how to take care of themselves, because they weren't told what they would need if they are living off on their own. I know some kids move out after high school, but it does not mean they won't ever see their family again. You're still part of the family, even if you moved away from your original home. Both Mia and Cooper moved out of their home because they both got married, which is really huge. When you get married and start a new life ahead, you wouldn't still live in your house. If you're going to stay together as a couple, you likely have to find your own place, and make decisions for yourselves. You can't be living in your home by yourself and not have your couple involved. That would be very hard to keep in touch together. Also likely you wouldn't be able to enjoy time together if you had to drive to your date's house all the time, instead of just finding a different place to live, so that you and your date would be happy together and you begin your new lives. That is exactly a time where the parents are not helping them as much. As an adult, you would be able to do almost everything your parents did, and you have people in touch and have somewhere to go. But being kicked out and not having a place to stay is a huge problem. As I explained, the child could have no friends. Who would they talk to if something like that happened? They're being disowned and have no help whatsoever. That will lead the troublemaker being endangered and maybe abused if there are very dangerous people out there if they go to an unknown place or a bad area. What those kids and adults did was nothing that is hurting the family compared to what most of the Wyatt gang and some of MB Bowser's gang members, Donald's parents, Samantha's father, Lucifer, Henry's former dad, Zach and Heather's parents, Rick Roger, Dan Hamming, Jasper's strict uncle, Devious Diesel's parents, Oily's parents, Sky's evil mother, Jerry Gonzalez, Bailey Gilson's parents, the 100,000 population of Dan Hamming's sprites that were created. But one of them however didn't enjoy working for Dan Hamming, who is also gone, Vixel, those killer sprites and Johnson did. All of those names I mentioned are criminals that did way worse far things which resulted in them being the most dangerous criminals they are, and cannot be trusted anywhere. Maybe even General Guy at one point. I didn't mention Len, Stanlow, and the colored sprites who used to be a threat because they all realized their wrongdoings in the end. That also goes to Johnny and Dixie. I have watched their Grounded series before. They used to fight and blame each other. Turns out the father was the problem the whole entire time. Rick revealed he never enjoyed having Johnny and Dixie, and kicked them right out and were taken by very dangerous criminals. I think that video that was created was way too far. People complained of how sickening and graphic it was, even if some parts were censored. Now, I remember making for hire series, and when they've ended, they get permanently kicked out and says you're so longer allowed to be part of this family, live your life without us, you are not my son no longer, and other stuff they would say. We were completely wrong doing that, which resulted in the parents making them hypocritical. Even though most of our for hire videos will remain on there, since it's part of Resaga, I still needed to point out the videos we did where Jake, Viley, Roderick, Evil Caillou, and other troublemakers who got disowned or killed just make the heroes and parents look like complete hypocrites. What they along with other troublemaking groups did was not even that big compared to what other far worse villains did. I'm going to give you examples of a time you would actually disown somebody if the person is too crazy with their behavior, or they murder their own family, such, etc. In my opinion, all of Wyatt gang members deserve to be disowned because their actions were just absolutely uncalled for and too traumatizing for some people who got assaulted by them. Some of those assaults they did were just as bad as how the wanted employees did it to their worst enemies. Donald was a psycho a little himself, but the parents were just terrible. They shot him at the end instead of Donald just getting arrested. Problems do not get solved by just killing the person. That man wasn't even 18 yet. Another bad move during the incident with Gregory, those 3 girls decided to kill him, which was a very bad move. The fact someone would assault somebody from one of the biggest and dangerous gang groups of all time, just make the person feel guilty themselves. Also, some kids probably saw the incident, so that wasn't good. Lucifer was just this bad person that cared for nobody, not even thought of his family or looked out for them. The worst of all was killing his own brother that was close to him, and trying to rule the world, but obviously he failed. Henry's real father chose to walk away from Henry, which resulted in Henry being left behind. His dad never returned. He was more upset about his wife not here with him anymore and didn't even think about his son. All family members matter, so it's understandable, but you never leave any of your kids behind. They just as important as your wives are. That is indeed another example of disowning your child. There was another backstory on why Sky was trying to date the boyfriend for years. The mother was more of a bad influence because she was trying to get Sky to date him, even when she was young at that time. You are never supposed to get married at a really young age. That was probably why Sky caused all that trouble for years and why the mother is not in their lives anymore. Resaga Part 2 was more about flashbacks and behind the reason into why these villains were troublemakers. You would notice in the first playlist, it has thousands of for hire videos and 3 movies and some Reese videos on there. This new playlist Resaga Part 2 didn't have much lag for hire videos because there were other stories I added to make it into one telling tale. It wasn't just all about the wanted employees causing their crimes, it was more of flashbacks, new battles and making more friends. Plus none of those videos in that playlist had a fight where it was completely one-sided. What the parents did years ago in those for hire videos was similar to what the Trip Gang parents did in 2021. And only Samantha got justice from all of that abuse. You don't ever harm or abuse your child. You ground them, and if that does nothing, take them to a therapist. I'm okay watching grounded videos, even the ones that had that old abuser way of how they grounded their children. But I do not like when the grounded series ends. It ends with them getting disowned, executed, or suffering by being trapped in a room with no air, or about them killing themselves, then the parents celebrate their death. If I am going to watch any grounded video, I watch the ones that are okay to me, and don't have any abuse on it. Child abuse is wrong and never okay to do to a child. Even abandoning the child to some unknown place, it's just wrong. No one, and I mean no one, deserves this. No one deserves to be on the streets alone, scared, tired, hungry and have nowhere to go. Disowning a child is similar to sending them to a foreign country. Not only that, it can be really hard to find any place to stay if you are alone and have no one, and you walk for hours and then you're in some unknown place that could be abandoned or a closed lot, or a dangerous street you should not be in. That could make them homeless. They are outside with no money, no supplies, no friends, no parents, no directions, nothing. No road or anywhere to go. That's just too far, and the parents would endanger the child, especially if it's a place not safe. I hope you understood the reasons into why making a grounded video where the parents disown the troublemaker. Although grounded videos are likely still gonna be here, if you don't like watching them, click off and watch something else. Telling them to stop is not gonna do anything, unless they decide to fully abandon grounded videos. But in other words, just let them be happy and do what they want. That is it for this message. See you around for another one.